Hey everybody, welcome to The Player's Take, episode 22. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up?
The Player's Take is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays. Yes, I said Fridays. We'll get to that in a second. On iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app of choice. So, we've been a show that posts at Tuesdays at 6 a.m. since we started, and we've been recording on Fridays after we get off work.
Yep.
So fairly late on Friday night. But the past few weeks we've been doing Mondays with a quick turnaround for me to edit the podcast, get it up.
Yep.
And it's kind of been working better for us, I feel like,
Yeah.
in both of our personal lives. So we have decided to start recording on Tuesdays going forward, and then we're going to be posting on Fridays at 6 a.m. going forward.
Yep.
I think we like this better anyways. I think it's better because the show posts on Friday. It's up for the weekend.
Yeah,
To
a lot of people can listen to it on the weekend.
So that's going to be the plan going forward with that. So let's get into what we've been playing. Montrell, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Borderlands 2 with you.
Yes, we've been playing that. We got to level 12.
Yeah, it's a very fun game. Playing with other people. Like I said, I got another character on there from like years ago.
Yeah,
I got to like level 15, and I enjoyed the game, but I'm like, I did say to myself then, like, this game would probably be fun. With
you
other
told me
people.
you played Zero, right?
Yeah.
First time. So yeah, dude. I've got a complicated relationship with Borderlands 2. I've said this many times.
Yeah.
Zero was the first character I played as well, because I always like to play the rogue, the stealthy, quick character that does a lot of damage, which is exactly what Zero is in Borderlands 2. He is probably the worst solo character to pick on your first playthrough, in my opinion. He doesn't really get good for a while. Like, it takes till level, like, 40-ish probably before he really starts to like hit hard and his action skill becomes good. You need to get to the end of one of the trees, really, like one of the skill trees. Okay. Because two of the skill trees modify his action skill, and they are both extremely good. And that's the problem. Is when I first started playing, I was playing with Zero 2, and I just didn't understand the game.
Yeah.
And the game is difficult to wrap your head around because there's a lot of systems happening like underneath the surface the game doesn't really tell you about. Yeah. And Zero's a character that's very gear dependent on specific items, more than others probably, and that's why picking him first like kind of sucked, because that's what happened to me too. I was the same way, dude. I played the game and I got to the point where I just like hated the game. I didn't want to play it anymore because I was like, this sucks. Like, this character's terrible. Like, I feel like I'm bad at the game or whatever. And then I picked up Maya, which is the character you're playing with us. Yes. And I played her solo, and she is so good.
Yeah,
solo.
I actually like her a lot.
Dude, she's so good by yourself, though, because she has the ability to crowd control with her action skill, and it just gives you so much flexibility and the ability to kind of control the battlefield. Yeah. In a way where Zero is much more about maneuvering around the battlefield rather than controlling it. And Maya just, like, she's just strong. Like, she's just a good character, very solid, and doesn't have a lot of weaknesses, per se. I think her damage probably is not up to some of the higher damage characters, but she's high up there still.
Yeah, she is up there. I like her crowd control move.
Yeah, she's not weak. So I think that's the problem, is we both picked the worst character to play by ourselves. And I think if you played Maya or the Gunzerker or Krieg even, I think they would probably be more in line, probably better solo player characters. I don't know about Krieg as much. He's tough. It's fun. It's funny to play with you guys because it's like I'm in the front all the time and kind of getting my ass handed to me. But because my skill, like,
you tank a lot of stuff though.
I do. But the character takes, like, he gets super tanky later on. Like, the further you get into his skill trees. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm having a lot of fun playing co-op with you guys though. Because I've never really done. I did a co-op, 2-person co-op with my brother a while back. A few years ago, and that was fun, but we kind of fell off it eventually. We were both playing characters we didn't really like very much. So, but yeah, I hope we stick with it, because I think you guys both like the game.
I like it a lot, actually.
Yeah, and I think Jet does too. So I'm hoping we get pretty deep in it, because, dude, the game later on, once you start getting the ability to kind of build yourself the way you want, it's a lot of fun. Like, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it is fun. So, I mean, It definitely changed my perception of Borderlands. I definitely see why people like it so much. And I remember playing it. Well, not playing it, but playing other games on the Xbox 360 when the game was really hot back in 2012.
Yeah.
And I seen my friends list, and everyone was just playing Borderlands 2.
God, dude. Yep.
It was just everybody. So I see why now everyone's playing it. Another game I jumped back into is Monster Hunter Worlds. I figure I'm gonna get back into it. I rubbed off the.
This is weird, man.
I rubbed off the generations. So
your timing is weird, man.
I know, right?
I don't know why you're doing this now. Did you ever finish it? Did you get to the end?
Yeah, I got to the end. I just didn't do none of the arch-tempered monsters. So I'm gonna try to do that.
That's the thing. I'm like, I don't want to play this till the G ranks out. Like, I don't. This is the thing. Is like the second the DLC drops, anything I do now is useless. You know. That's just the way Monster Hunter is, and it's like I don't know if I care to play right now.
Hey, I'm just doing it just to get back to the swing of things.
Play what you want.
Yeah,
but yeah. I was like, I saw you yesterday, and I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah,
but, man, you just seem like you're kind of slippery right now. You can't you're not sticking.
I can't
with the game.
Focus on the game on the play right now.
You're not sticking on the game.
Yeah,
because you were playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 3 weeks ago, and then you were playing fucking.
I just feel like I think because I'm antsy right now, I have a gamer's anxiety because I know once WoW comes out, I'm not going to touch anything else. So I'm trying to
get as many games in as possible. Next week, you're not going to be playing Monster Hunter World anymore. You're
Probably not.
You're going to be on something else.
Yeah.
Man.
So,
well, I've also it's been all Borderlands for me this week, so I've been playing Borderlands 1 remastered as well, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's interesting. The game is in my opinion definitely inferior to Borderlands 2 in the way it plays. The shooting is becoming more and more annoying as I play it more because I'm playing Mordecai, who's the sniper pistol character.
Yeah,
and dude, snipers are. I don't know if this is the engine being poor with the kind of hit boxes or where the bullets go when you shoot them out of your gun, or if this is an intended mechanic of the game. I'm not sure. But when I'm scoped on somebody, I will have my crosshair right on their head, and I will fire, and then the bullet will go to the side of their head. And it happens fairly often, and it's really irritating. It's kind of ruining the character for me because it's like, what's the point of being a sniper character if I'm not actually accurate with the sniper when I shoot it? You know, it's like, and it's happening fairly often. And it's probably the biggest complaint I have. The game otherwise is fun. It's very Borderlands. The scaling is a lot less steep compared to Borderlands 2, significantly less steep. Borderlands 2 gets completely out of control at a certain point where the numbers just go stupid.
Yeah.
Like your guns are doing 1 million damage per shot and things like that. Yeah, it's insane. This game's a much more smaller on that front.
Okay.
But the and as such, the difficulty is not anywhere near as high as Borderlands 2. I feel like so far. I have not had a lot of trouble playing by myself, and which I enjoy. I'm actually happy about that. I'm not really looking for that hardcore murderous experience. You know.
I do see people always saying that Borderlands 1, they love Borderlands 1 compared to Borderlands 2. Is it because that was the first game they played?
Probably.
Okay.
Borderlands 2 is the first one I played.
Okay.
And I love that one. I think the thing is, I think it's become cool to say you like Borderlands 1 over Borderlands 2. I don't really see how you can feel that way because the game is inferior in almost every way besides maybe design.
Okay.
That's really the only thing. Like the design of the weapons, the characters, and the scaling of leveling.
Okay.
That's where the game might be. Your preference may be one or the other.
Okay.
In terms of storytelling, questing, and just overall presentation, Borderlands 2 is vastly superior. So not even close. In terms of the feel of the weapons and the accuracy of the weapons, vastly superior. Borderlands 2 is vastly superior.
Okay.
Like guns, there's none of that garbage with sniper rifles. If you shoot somebody in the head with a sniper rifle in Borderlands 2, you hit him in the head. So it's like. So
this Borderlands 1, is it like from Borderlands 1 to Borderlands 2? In your opinion, is it like going from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, where it's not really a change besides a little bit of scenery and stuff like that?
I think it's more like Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 2.
Okay.
That's what I would frame it as. Where Uncharted 1 is like getting your feet wet.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I like this. This is cool. I think if they do another one of these, I'll be really excited about it. And then Uncharted 2 is just like, holy shit! Like that's kind of that's where I am with it personally.
Okay. All right.
I think a lot of people feel differently, but I think the thing is just the game is there's very, very little voice acting in the game. Like very, very little. It's obvious that was a place they cut corners to save some money for the game. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just obvious. It's just to me it's like the game doesn't really have a story per se. Yeah, it's like you show up and you're like, "Oh, there's a vault. Go find the vault." And then the whole game's like just shuffling you from person to person who's trying to help you find the vault. Like that's pretty much it. And there's not really a villain per se. Like there's not like a Handsome Jack in this game. Which the game doesn't need to have a Handsome Jack. I'm not saying you need a villain that ridiculous, but there's no presence really in the game that is with you throughout the entire game. You're just getting shuffled from area to area, and it's kind of small pockets of like you have like this bandit leader is terrorizing the people here, and you need to kill him and before you can go to the next area. And there's another bandit leader who's even more powerful, you know, that kind of thing. That's really what I've seen so far. I have met one character, Patricia Tanis, who's like she's in the second game as well, and she's an important character in Borderlands lore. She's really the only character that matters in the game per se, and she's the only one that really gets fleshed out either. There's a number of quests with her where you find echoes of her kind of landing on Pandora and her kind of like adventure for a couple of years on Pandora, and that is interesting, but it's kind of interesting to get that backstory, but otherwise nobody else really gets that. Very few characters. It's cool to see some of the old characters in this game, but a lot of them are like Helena Pierce, actually. You remember that voice recording that we got in the first town where he's talking to that woman on the train, and he's like, "What happened to your face?" or whatever.
Yeah.
She's an NPC in the first game.
Oh, really?
And yeah, she's like she's probably the second most important NPC in the game so far that I've seen, besides Tanis. And yeah, she's just like killed off screen between games. It's like so it's like it's just not. I don't know. She's not really an interesting character in the first game either. She doesn't really say anything much. She's just kind of like the leader of a town, and she's like, "Hey, you made a mess over here. Go clean it up. Like, you searching for the vault. Fuck this up. Go fix it." Like, you know, it's kind of things like that. And it's, as I said, very little voice acting. Most of it is text. Like, most of the quests are text. So
that's interesting coming from Borderlands 2, where almost everything
is voice acted.
It's
very interesting. You can tell they definitely had a lot of success with the first Borderlands.
Yeah.
And they really, really invested that in Borderlands 2. And obviously we know that Colonial Marines, they took some of the funding from Sega. They really wanted Borderlands 2 to succeed. And I think, I mean, obviously they hit gold with that, you know, back in the day. But it's really interesting to see the trajectory of the company because they had a vision, I think, for Borderlands. And Borderlands 1, they just couldn't achieve it. And I feel like people who like Borderlands 1 over 2, I can, like, obviously you can like what you want, right?
Yeah.
I just think, to me, Borderlands 2 is just a way better game. It's not even close.
I like it so far. I like the banter. I like everything about the game.
Yeah, and Handsome Jack, like, in the beginning, I think he's kind of comes off as like, he could be a really annoying villain, the way he comes off in the beginning of the game.
I actually liked him. Like, I didn't mind him at all.
Yeah, but I could tell, like, Jet was kind of like, okay, you know, at the beginning of it, but it's like, within a couple hours, though, he's starting to, like, become a character and not just a guy yelling memes,
crazy stuff.
It's like, so I think over the course of the game too, like, Jack really gets fleshed out as a character, and it's very fun for me.
I actually like the NPCs you encounter, like what's his name, the mechanic guy,
Hammerlock.
Hammerlock. No, not Hammerlock, the other guy.
Oh, Scooter.
Get red. Scooter's hilarious, man.
Dude, I love Scooter, man. You're not gonna give me you robot son bitch. Oh man, he's funny.
He's a cool character. Like, I really don't like. I mean, I know Borderlands is one of those things that kind of like breaks the fourth wall a lot and things of that nature. But usually when video games try to do that or other media, it's it's corny a little bit, but this game seems like really authentic.
Well, it's authentic, and I think at the same time they actually do a really good job of world building.
Yeah,
weirdly
they do.
Enough,
yeah.
Like you'll see it more as the game goes along. There's a lot of cool world building in the game. Like it's funny, they've built a universe. Like that's why I'm excited about Borderlands 3, because they've really built a true universe. Like this game has a, like, the lore is very interesting to me. I find it very fascinating. Whereas like Borderlands 3, they've already kind of shown that a hostile takeover in the world of Borderlands is you actually going to attack the company's headquarters that you're trying to take over, like with guns and stuff and soldiers. It's such a funny, it's so stupid, but it's Borderlands though. That's exactly what Borderlands is though. That kind of stupid shit like that. So I'm all in on this. Like, I love this series. I think it's a great series. So I hope we play it more. I want to get deep into it. You know.
Yeah, I think I am going to invest a lot of time into it. I didn't know it was that deep until, like I said, been playing it with you guys. It's definitely one of those games you have to play with other people, in my opinion. I mean, you can play solo, but like I like this type of game because I'm playing with people.
I agree with you. I think Borderlands 2's biggest weakness is, I think that might be why a lot of people like Borderlands 1 over 2, actually, is that I think Borderlands 2 is much more soloable than... I mean, Borderlands 1 is much more soloable than Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2, at a certain point, becomes very, very difficult without specific gear loadouts and skill setups.
Okay.
And Borderlands 1, as I've seen so far... I'm about level 30, so I'm not even halfway to the level cap. So this might change. I might be wrong about this. I might be projecting this too far forward, but I haven't had any issues with solo play in Borderlands 1, so that might be why a lot of people like the first game over the second one. Because if you don't have anybody to play with, that co-op, the lack of that co-op experience is hard. It's hard to overcome in Borderlands 2. Especially if you pick the wrong character, you don't wrap your head around the game fast enough.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I can kind of see it from that perspective. I just think even for me, I am that person though. I didn't have anybody to play with Borderlands 2, and I still fell in love with it.
Okay,
it's still an amazing game to me. So, all right, let's move on to the news. So our first story this week is an interesting one. So Telltale Games shut down last year in October. I'm sure most of you know that. And now, a lot of their games were still on sale, though, on all these digital storefronts. Well, that's kind of changing now. This actually, by the time this podcast goes live, I think it's going to be down. Most of their games are going to be down pretty much everywhere. I think GOG was the last one that had them up, and they were saying they were not going to be selling their games anymore by May 27th, which is today, day of recording. So, this is kind of a thing in games. Obviously, it's sad that Telltale's games are coming off these storefronts. They're a great game to buy for like $5. They're great games to buy for like $5 during a sale, kind of thing. But I think in general, it's kind of it's brought up an interesting thing for me that why is it like this in video games? You know, it's like, because other mediums, if a company makes a movie, right, and they close, the movie doesn't stop being for sale. And the reason is a lot of these other industries have these like kind of trusts that get set up for companies like that get closed down, and anything that's sold under their name gets put into that trust and then is paid out as royalties to all the people who worked on the movie, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
That doesn't happen in video games, and that seems like a thing that it's kind of a thing we should talk about, because it kind of sucks, dude, that these games aren't for sale anymore.
Well, we got to remember, like, this industry is quite young in the sense that,
for sure,
as far as entertainment value, I mean, we know it's been around for about 30 years, but as far as popularity and things of that nature,
it's really the last 10, 15.
Yeah. So I think we're still filling out a lot of things, and the companies are definitely getting away with a lot of the things, because it's in its infancy stage, in my opinion. Probably within the next 5 years, I predict this will change. And not the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, this will change, because you're right, companies go under, things of that nature.
And you can still buy their movies, you can still buy their music, you can still buy television shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I feel like because we don't have any kind of set structure for our developers in these game industries, that's why they're working crunch hours. That's why they're not getting royalties and things of that nature, because these companies, it's such an underlooked like industry right now. A lot of people still aren't taking it seriously as an entertainment conglomerate.
Well, I also don't know the logistics of those things. In those other industries, are those things kind of handled by unions? Are they handled?
A lot of them are. Movies have unions.
That's kind of what I'm wondering, is if it's just one of those things that we're not at the point, like we don't have unions in gaming, or we don't have very many of them, so they're not able to do things like this yet. Is it one of those things we kind of have to wait for that domino to fall before the rest of these kind of fall?
Yeah, because from what my friend told me, he's like really big into movies. Well, he doesn't make movies, but he's like into the industry and stuff like that. And I believe some of the staff, majority of the staff, have a union. Even sometimes the actors themselves are in a union.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
for movies like writers, there's a writers union. There's we already know a voice actors union, SAG-AFTRA. There's a actors union for sure. I don't know about the small like production staff. I don't know if those people have unions.
Some of them do, and it depends on
it might depend on the person.
Yeah, and what you're doing.
Yeah, so those industries are heavily unionized, and I just think it's one of those things. I'm starting to feel like that unions in games are inevitable. And
I mean the people, the developers and the companies, employing these developers can't regulate themselves. It's kind of the next. I mean, one of the topics we're going to talk about later on. Yeah. But like, it's a result of non-regulation between our industry and ourselves. Yeah. If you can't regulate yourself, then someone's going to have to come in and do this. Yeah. And we don't want that to happen, but unfortunately, this is why things turn the way they turn.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to treat people right, if you're not going to, I don't know, do things the right way, then eventually someone's going to have to force you to, right?
Yeah, because like, what if Blizzard goes under, like...
Yeah, can I not buy Warcraft anymore? Like,
what about the people who are like employed for World of Warcraft? Yeah. What about the subscribers? Like, what happens to that game? It just dies and goes,
disappears, right? Unless somebody buys it. That's the problem with Telltale, and specifically though, the problem with them is that they don't own any of their IPs. So, like any of the games they made, they don't own the IPs for the game. Yeah. They were using other people's properties to make their games.
They should have got some kind of royalties for that, though,
so nobody... Well, I'm sure they did, but nobody's going to buy Telltale because they don't have anything to buy, Yeah. So, I mean, sure, maybe if you buy Telltale, you can keep selling the games, but that's it. That's all you have. You don't have anything else, right? Is that worth it to anybody? Not really.
Not really.
Probably not really. As I said, these are games that people, like myself, I buy them on $5 or $10 when they're on sale. I don't buy them at full price. Yeah. I never did. So, I don't know. It's just brought up an interesting discussion. I feel like that it's just another one of those things that the industry, like you said, is young and doesn't know how to do, even though other industries have already figured this out a long time ago.
Well, it's a topic of discussion that needs to be had on a lot of more popular platforms.
Yes, I agree.
A lot more people don't talk about this type of stuff. I mean, we're talking about loot boxes and everything of that nature, but we have people on these popular platforms defending loot boxes and stuff.
This sucks. From a standpoint of history, like game history, these games are gone now. They're lost. If you don't own them, you can't get them. Yeah, you straight up can't get them. So that kind of
this
sucks.
was a big, in my opinion, a big part of like game history, especially in that what was it, the 7th gen?
It was, I think the Walking Dead, the first season came out in 2010.
Yep. And I remember that was like...
And that was a phenomenon.
Yeah, what about The Wolf Among Us? Did that come out before?
That was like the next year.
That was next year? Yeah. Okay. I just remember those games when they came out. They were like cultural impacts.
Dude, it was like a phenomenon. Yeah, no, totally. No, and they completely changed the industry.
Exactly.
They made these games viable in a way I think that they weren't before.
Because you remember that kind of died out in the early, like... PC, like remember we had Monkey Island, things of that nature. Games, they kind of died out, and then they brought that back. And I was actually looking forward to that because I used to play stuff like that on my Sega Sega CD, they had games like that, or detective games and things of that nature. And I thought, and this was bringing it back in a more interactive way than before.
Yeah.
And then it died out again. But
well, I mean, we still have other companies like the Square Enix with the Life is Strange.
Yeah, you're right.
There are other companies doing similar things. It's just they were kind of the ones who did most of them.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, but I mean, it is what it is with that. I just think from a history standpoint, we got to do a better job of preserving these games, man. A lot of them are really just lost to time. Up, dude.
Like you said with the ROMs a couple podcasts ago, when Nintendo went on a rampage and just killed all these ROM sites. Like, that's a piece of history that people are not going to be able to play anymore.
Nintendo themselves is not keeping.
Yeah,
right.
They're not willing to like give people that history. Like, there are kids born now who play Smash Brothers right now, and they don't know that 64 Smash Brothers, they never played it.
Yeah.
So they only hear about it. Like, oh man, why was this game good?
Yeah.
Like,
but dude, that's a popular game though, so you can get your hands on Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the games that are like super obscure, only had like 5,000 copies made during the Super NES era or the NES era.
Yeah.
And those copies are like almost all gone now for one reason or another, and there's no way to get the game. Like, you can't buy the game digitally anyway. So the game just will literally be forgotten to time. Like, no one's going to remember it exists.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's hundreds of games like
Tons of games like that. I'm sure there are. So I think the industry itself has to be better at kind of curating that themselves.
Yeah.
I think these companies... Because, remember when Square Enix was doing the remakes or the remasters for Kingdom Hearts? And they were like, we don't have the original code.
How do you not have the original code of one of your most popular franchises?
It wasn't even that long.
Exactly.
It was like less than 10 years prior they had released the first game, and they're like, we don't have the code for it. I'm like... What is happening? What?
You would think like these companies have like a stockpile. Yeah.
Like, dude, you don't have a vault of all your old shit? Like, no, they don't. They actually really don't. And I think about our company too, right? Like, I'm sure there's tons of shit that we've made over the years that we don't have anymore. Anywhere. Like, it's just, think about it from because it doesn't make them money to do that, but they're gonna regret it at some point.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, man.
I mean, because it looks like, because movies, they keep stockpiles of like old ass shit.
Yeah.
Like movies from like the 1800s or shit like that.
Another industry that has some of this stuff figured out.
Yeah. Right? I mean, I know game industries and gamers and even some developers shit on the movie industry, but we can learn a lot from that industry as far as preservation, because they have their shit in order and, unionizing and things of that nature. But we can learn a lot from that. I mean, if a kid want to play I know this is like super common, but like Mario or Sonic or something like that, then they should be able to go back and play those games.
That's a good point, though. I mean, think about a few years ago before the Switch came out. People thought Nintendo was in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Like, if the Switch didn't hit, people thought they were gonna go third party,
and then all that stuff would have been lost.
Exactly. If Nintendo goes under, who's gonna pick that up? I mean, I know it's Nintendo. Somebody probably will, but there's other companies like Nintendo that people probably... Like Sega, for instance. If Sega went under, who's going to pick up Sega?
Well, like THQ, for instance. They have some games that were memorable to people.
Yeah.
Saints Row, for instance, right?
Emlor.
Yep, Emlor. And, I mean, thank God you can still get those games, but... Yeah. What if
because THQ Nordic
bought
a lot of the IPs?
Exactly. Right? So, I mean, what if that never happened? We would have lost all those games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of scary to think about if you think about it,
dude,
man.
That's what I don't like. When we buy stuff digitally, this is a lot of the reason why I still buy physical. Because
yeah.
I have physical copies of a few Telltale games, and I will always be able to play those. And the digital copies of some of these games, like for this, if you bought Telltale games on a digital platform, you're not going to lose your copy of the game. You're going to be able to still play it.
Yeah.
And you will still have access to it. But that's not a guarantee either,
Oh, yeah, because they can pull out a license for it.
Yeah, exactly. If Steam, dude, that happened with a Lord of the Rings Lego game a couple years ago.
Really?
That only came out 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, Lego Lord of the Rings. They only had I think they only had an agreement with the Tolkien estate for 4 years or something like that, or 5 years, and the 5 years was up. They couldn't renew the agreement, and they had to take the game down from stores, straight up. There's no way to buy it now. You can't buy that game. It's crazy, man. So this stuff is very interesting to me, and I think that's why we shouldn't be in such a rush to get to the all digital future, because there are a lot of cons.
Well, a lot of kids don't understand that. If you talk to just a regular teenager and stuff like that, like I do, a lot of them really don't think about that stuff because they were born in this digital age.
And they don't have the life experience to realize that they might want something they have now in 20 years.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And you say that to them and they're like, I don't care, I'm not going to play this game, and it's one of their favorite games. It's well, this is what happens. You can't
I
play
think about those live service games too, right?
Yeah. For sure, those games are a ticking clock always.
Yeah, I can't. Well, thank God the Master Chief Collection is out, but before there were tons of people like me who were man, really wish I can go back and play Halo 2 online. Yeah, because they shut down the servers, so I can't do that.
Yeah. Well, MMOs were always they're the epitome of this discussion. Where, dude, those games would come out and it's a ticking clock until they get shut down. You know? And they all have a lifespan, and eventually all of the ones we know of now will be closed. World of Warcraft's not going to last forever.
Yeah, it's definitely
at some point Blizzard will shut World of Warcraft down. I mean, it's probably not going to be for 20 more years, but
that's almost. I mean, say it's 20 years out now. That's almost 30, 40 years of history lost. Yeah.
And you won't be able to play that game anymore.
And people have gotten married off that game. Yeah. Built friendships and everything off that game. Yeah. It's crazy.
But any live game like that, Destiny, Anthem, all these live service games that are always online, games like that are the biggest loss with this, because the company doesn't have to close for those games to shut down and be unplayable. Yeah. Right? Once BioWare decides to shut Anthem down, that's the end of it. You can't play it anymore. That's it. It's over. You're done. There's no way to play it unless somebody puts up a private server, which those are hit and miss anyways. Yeah. And even if they work well, generally they get shut down by the companies that own the games. It's that's kind of the thing with live service games, is they're kind of a flash in the pan, a lot of them. And if you get on a wagon for one that's not popular and you really fall in love with one that's not popular, you better enjoy it while it lasts, because it might not be around long. Anthem's a great example. If you like Anthem, you love Anthem, play Anthem, man. Because
I don't think it's gonna be around.
You might not be able to next year.
But I'm just thinking about Destiny, how I spent tons of hours playing, having fun with the raids and everything like that, and it's just I don't even touch that game anymore, but
it's still
I do.
Live though, right?
Yeah, it's still live. It's still live, but I just think I can't go back and have those memories or have that nostalgia factor, because the same people I was playing with, they aren't there anymore.
They're gone.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another thing with live service games, because you build these relationships with your friends, things of that nature. It's not like a experience that the game can give you; it's what the community gives you.
Yeah, they're fleeting. Those games are very fleeting. That's why when you finally find one that you really like, you got to stick with it, dude, because those experiences I've learned over the years, even World of Warcraft, I have maybe 2 to 3 years of fond memories from WoW, and I played it for probably 7 or 8 years, I'd say. And there's actually 3 years of that I really look back on fondly. The rest of it's kind of just wasted time, mostly. Yeah. But it's so. That's why I'm happy that Classic's coming out, because that's the thing with it, right? Is once the first expansion came out for World of Warcraft, that experience in Classic is gone. It's just gone for good, right? Until they decide to do something like this. So it's an interesting discussion. There's a lot of facets to digital games and live service games. Yeah. I think it's a lot of stuff people don't talk about very often, because
once again,
this stuff doesn't happen very often.
I don't think people think in the future like that. Yeah. I know a lot of people do, because I have seen this topic here and there.
Yeah, me too.
But for the majority of the time, people are just how you say, they're in the now. They're in the now right now, and they just don't really care about it until after it's gone. They're oh man, I remember playing this game. It's Final Fantasy 14 for me. The reason why I love that game, and I go back and play it, and I'm oh, it's not as good as the game I thought it was, because I was playing with friends, and we had our own little light party, 4 people, had a tank, DPS, healer, and another DPS, And it was fun, and we were just on mics talking shit, or we'll be right next to each other playing the game, shit like that.
Yeah.
But I can't get that memory back. I can't get that feeling I had back when I played by myself, because I'm like, oh, this is why I played it, because I had friends to play with it.
Yep.
No, I don't, because we are growing up and have our separate lives and shit like that.
Dude, that's why I went back to World of Warcraft so many times, and eventually, every time within a couple weeks, you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
It's like none of the people I played with are here.
Yeah.
Anymore. It's just me. Like, it's not fun this way, you know? So hopefully we can forge a new experience like that with WoW Classic, right?
But I mean, I know you're about to finish off this topic, but just to like hit home, I think that's another thing that missing with these games.
Yeah.
Even with like Fortnite, and I know some people play Apex Legends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I really do miss, even though a couple weeks ago we were talking about how toxic the community can be for these games.
Yeah.
I really do miss just talking to random people when you go into a lobby.
Dude, I'm looking forward to that in WoW. Like, just running around and somebody's just like, hey. And you're just like, who the fuck are you, dude? Like, and you're like, hey? And they're like, hey, man, I see you doing that quest. You want a group? Like, and it's like
that's fun.
Yeah,
man.
No, exactly. It's just spontaneous.
Yeah,
like,
man.
It just things like that just happen, right? And, dude, it's like, maybe you guys just do the quest and you go your separate ways, but maybe you play with them and you have fun and you have a friend.
That's what I loved about, like, when I played Burning Crusade. I didn't get a guild until like I was like level 60. I was doing solo play. I had one person I was playing with. He didn't play all the time.
Yeah.
But it was just random people I was partying up with, and we would do a party. Like, okay, bye. Like, and it was just that was fun.
Well, one trend I remember from WoW as it got older is over time. Because vanilla, I have so many experiences like you're talking about, where you'd meet somebody and you quest with them briefly, and then you become friends with them, and then you quest with them again, and you do instances with them. I have so many of those experiences in vanilla, and as the game went on, those experiences became less and less.
Because it's like the dungeon
less.
queue finder and stuff like that.
Yeah, because they started designing the game away from that kind of experience, and I think that's the biggest shame of World of Warcraft, and I think that's what Blizzard's going to be surprised by when Classic launches, is how much that resonates with people, even people who haven't played vanilla, right? Is that you have the game, like, I'm not going to say the game's hard compared to some other MMOs. It's not. But,
it's just rough around the edges.
Well, no, it's like you have to. You're not invincible though. You can't just run around and murder everything in one hit.
Yeah.
Right. You actually have to think about how you're going to approach quests and like areas and things like that, and it requires you to group with people sometimes. And I think it's just that alone creates these experiences naturally, right? It gravitates the community towards each other instead of away from each other.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you don't have to do anything with anybody, so why would you ever group with anyone? Like,
yeah, exactly.
What's the point? You don't have to. You're not dependent on them.
I don't think they design games around that enough. They design it in mind with, solo play. And you can occasionally group with someone if you want to, but it's like force me to be social, man.
Dude, that's what the Division 2 is fucking up right now. And that game, dude, surprisingly, from what I'm seeing online, is actually in a bad state right now.
Really?
Weirdly enough, yeah, dude. Because the raid just dropped a couple weeks ago, and they released it without matchmaking, which is completely counter to the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's the same thing Destiny did.
Yeah, and you can't like you're saying, right? It's you need to force your players to interact with each other, but you can't have them not be forced to interact with each other for the entire fucking game, and then all of a sudden decide, hey, you have to do this with other people. You need to have friends.
Yeah.
You can't. You need to go you have to figure out how to get 8 people together. Like,
I mean,
like what?
Because, like, to be honest, right? So, what game developers need to do is, even if you don't want us to, matchmake and stuff like that, force us to talk to each other. Yeah. Like, you have these particular strikes or missions that require some type of communication. I have to say, hey, this guy's about to come out right now. We gotta press this switch when he comes out. I have to say these things, or else, without my communication in a certain spot, then this will not happen. We can't progress through the level or whatever the fuck. A lot of games don't do that. It's just like, horde style, progress, shoot everything in the room. It
tells you exactly what to do.
Exactly.
Too. Right.
So, I don't know. It's just weird how they got everything kind of automated and streamlined.
Yeah. I don't know how we got here from Telltale games that are not on stores anymore, but that's fine. This is a conversational podcast. We'll go wherever the conversation takes us. All right, let's move on, though.
Yeah.
All right, next story. This is a quick follow-up on the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. So we talked about this, I think, last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. They have officially delayed the movie to February 14th, 2020. So this was kind of a cool thing to see. I'm glad they're doing this. They're not going to kill their
People
teams.
are actually upset about this.
Well, I mean, what? I don't know what to tell these people.
I think it's just the people who's trying to play devil's advocate or something like that. They're like, so now we can tell artists how to do their art, and they have to go back and redo it, and it's like
and they have to delay their movie. I get it, but at the same time, again, they decided to change the design.
Yeah,
and there's repercussions to that, and they realize they can't get the movie out in November. So good on them for delaying it.
Yeah,
I
mean, I think it's a good move.
I do too. I agree.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I didn't have much to say. I just wanted to follow up on that quickly. Okay, next story. So this was a weird one. So there was an article I saw saying that Sony... There was kind of an interview with Sony CEO Jim Ryan.
Yeah.
Who told investors that they plan to invest in first-party studios, quote, through organic growth and acquisitions in the lead up to the PS5's launch. And Sony hasn't made a big acquisition since 2011, since they purchased the infamous studio Sucker Punch. That's the last time they acquired a studio, and since then they've closed a lot of studios.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting to hear them say that they want to acquire more studios again. Whereas for me, I don't know if they need to. I feel like their lineup of studios is really solid right now.
Yeah, that's pretty weird. Maybe they're trying to get more stuff for their VR.
It could be for VR. It could be to fill gaps in their lineup they don't have, like a multiplayer shooter.
Some
games
type
like
of
that.
live service game or some shit like that.
Dude, if they're going to acquire studios and make them make third-person, or they're all going to make third-person action games, I mean, God, how many of these can one company make? It's like that's all Sony Studios makes is third-person action games.
Yeah.
There are varying degrees of it with God of War versus The Last of Us or something like that, but they're all third-person and they're all action games at the end of the day.
I don't know. I think it was just kind of obvious. I mean, every generation, companies acquire new first-party companies. But that's the thing.
Sony didn't do it for this gen. 2011 was the last time they acquired anything.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Actually, this gen for them has been more about contraction, kind of cutting the fat, so to speak.
Okay.
Studios they don't need or studios that weren't performing up to snuff for them. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see this. I'll be interested to see if they actually do it though, or if this is just kind of.
Well, the organic thing is, I think they're going to go through third-party studios, and have a first party exclusive with them with that game, and then if that game does well, they'll come up to them with a offer like, hey, this game did really well, how about you come work for us?
Yeah, like Insomniac would be a good example, because they don't own Insomniac. That's been a second party relationship for multiple generations now.
Yeah,
that's been one that they've that's always kind of been speculated about, that they might acquire them. So them, I could see them, like you're saying, do a exclusive game with a third party, and if it works out and is a hit, they might acquire them and do more. Right?
The reason I think, because in the article it points out Insomniac, right? I think that Sunset Overdrive kind of scared them a little bit.
What, Sony?
Yeah. Because that dropped out for Xbox and was exclusive for Xbox for a while.
It didn't do that well.
It didn't do that well, but I do remember a lot of people when it came out being excited for it. I was excited for it. I bought it, and it was actually a cool game. It was different.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of scared them a little bit, because what if potentially another person they have a really good relationship with decides to make a game for Xbox or the Switch, and it's an exclusive and it's a hit on that console.
Well, yeah, because Insomniac was an interesting studio. They had been a huge partner for Sony for a while, and they still are now. It's just that one game was kind of I feel like them dipping their toe elsewhere to see if it would work, and it didn't end up working, so they kind of just went back to Sony and have made a couple games for them since.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's maybe you're right. It's something that they're like, they don't want to lose a studio like Insomniac, so maybe acquiring them would make sense.
Well, also, you gotta think, like, Square Enix, right, has had, like, in my opinion, my opinion may be wrong, but to me, Square Enix and Sony have always been, like, kind of buddy-buddy more than Xbox.
Oh, for sure.
And I feel like their game being sold on Xbox is kind of like Sony's kind of side-eyeing that, and like, man, other companies could be doing this that we potentially have great relationships with. So I feel like they are going to try to acquire a lot more, just like they said, organically. They're just going to see what happens.
Well, because a lot of the studios that have had good relationships with them have been the Japanese studios.
Yeah,
Konami, Square Enix, Atlus, NIS. A lot of these Japanese companies have always kind of been exclusive to Sony for the most part, and that is slowly turning, right? Like you're saying. So I think it makes sense. I mean, obviously, the industry at a certain point, they can't. They need to branch out, right?
Yeah, they can't monopolize everything.
Like,
but
Square is a publisher. They're not going to sit there and just make games for Sony forever. Like, it's dumb. That's not a smart business for them.
Yeah.
That's not going to foster growth.
We may potentially see franchises, though, being exclusive to, like...
For sure, yeah. No, and I mean, we saw Square do that with Octopath, right?
Yeah.
It was exclusive to Switch. It's coming to PC, but it's not coming to the other platforms, like PS4
exactly.
and Xbox One. So I think we're going to see a lot more stuff like that, like timed exclusives, where they're exclusive for a year, which I kind of hate this. I hate these. Like, these are not... For me, I don't like timed exclusives. To me, it's like, make it exclusive or make it not exclusive.
Yeah, make it exclusive,
right?
Make it all or nothing.
Yeah, all or nothing. Because, like, Tomb Raider was like that.
It was like that with Xbox.
Yeah, it was an Xbox exclusive for a year, and that buried that game.
Yeah.
Like, it completely killed that game.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. And that's a good game, so...
Yeah, and I might have played it if it came out day and date on both consoles.
Yep.
Right? And it didn't, so I never played it. And I don't really plan on it at this point.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's an interesting thing. I like, Insomniac, to me... I know that's always the obvious one. I just feel like they're weird. I think they don't want to be acquired.
Yeah, you can tell they
really like being independent.
Yeah. Even when they did that deal with they made that exclusivity deal with Xbox, they said, like, this is going to be our IP though, but we're going to make it for your console, but it's our IP. Yeah. And I thought that was a really good move on their part. Yeah. Even with Respawn, before they got acquired by EA, they were like, hey, Titanfall is our IP, but we're going to make it exclusive for Xbox. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. So, MPD numbers for April came out, and they're about what you'd expect. Interesting, though. Days Gone's placement, I guess, is probably the most interesting thing to me. So, let me go through the list. This is overall numbers for, I believe, all platforms. Mortal Kombat 11 was the number one game. Days Gone.
Expected.
Yeah, Days Gone was number 2. MLB The Show 19 was number 3. Tom Clancy's The Division 2 is number 4. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, number 5. Grand Theft Auto 5, number 6.
Jesus Christ.
Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, number 7. Call of Duty Black Ops 4, number 8. NBA 2K19, number 9. Yoshi's Crafted World, number 10. Damn.
Hey, man, that game's good.
You go, Yoshi's Crafted World. Did that come out in April?
Yeah, it did,
was that March?
It was April, man.
It was? Okay. Yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2 at 11, Mario Kart 8 at 12, Assassin's Creed Odyssey at 13. Wow, still trucking there. Minecraft at 14. My God. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at 15. Final Fantasy 10-2 HD Remaster at 16. Did that come out on a new platform? Did it come out on Switch?
Yeah.
It did, okay.
Yeah, that came out right before a week or two before Final Fantasy 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 17. Jump Force at 18. This game's got a tail, man.
Fuck it.
Battlefield 5 at 19 and Borderlands Game of the Year Edition at 20. Still hanging on after releasing in March. So,
I just instantly got a headache. Why is Jump Force still selling? That game is terrible. Anyway.
Let me just go over the best-selling games of 2019 overall so far. So this is for the first 4 months.
Oh, my God.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
That's expected.
Kingdom Hearts 3, number 1. That's actually a surprise to me, dude.
Really?
I think that's surprising. When you've got Division 2 and Mortal Kombat and Anthem even on this list, and Kingdom Hearts is number 1, but Mortal Kombat 11 at number 2, which is impressive considering there were only available for last month.
Yeah.
Division 2 at 3, Anthem at 4, Resident Evil 2.
Anthem at 4?
Yeah. Resident Evil 2 2019 at 5, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 6, which is impressive because that came out last year. Red Dead Redemption 2 at 7, also impressive because it came out last year. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice at 8, very impressive.
Yeah.
Jump Force at 9. And then MLB The Show 19 at 10, which is also impressive because that game...
That's exclusive,
that game
right?
kills for Sony. That game kills for Sony every year. It's unbelievable that they have an exclusive license with the MLB for these games. Like, no one else wants to make an MLB game, and they just murder it every year. It's like...
It's actually, from what I heard here, the game actually, it's not like a Madden thing. It actually improves its system every
Sony,
year.
I don't know if the game even has microtransactions because Sony doesn't really do that.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know,
but it has a really dope story mode and everything like that. So I know people who love baseball love MLB The Show.
Well, dude, I don't even like baseball, but the show sounds like it's so good that I almost kind of want to try it.
I did almost buy it one year.
Yeah,
my friend was like, "Yo, you should buy this game." I'm like, "Man, I don't know," but I did watch like a stream of it. Somebody playing it. It looked pretty fun. So,
but interesting things from this list. So.
I can't believe
Anthem at 4, dude. This explains why I think they're hanging on so hard.
Yeah,
is that this game did really sell. Like it didn't meet their expectations.
The advertising was like phenomenal, and then it's BioWare, so people just going to gravitate towards it.
Which it still didn't meet EA's expectations, despite this. But yeah, I think Sekiro being 8, it's pretty impressive actually for those guys. It's a good deal for them.
I think that means Activision might dipple and dabble into more single player games because this game, they were the publisher for that game.
Yeah, we could see that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I just think Days Gone at 2 on April is very surprising.
Actually, a lot of people, Rod, who sits over in our other area, he loves watching that game stream. Like he loves streaming that game or watching it. Other people play it. So I think a lot of people like the game. They have their complaints about it, but they like the game. It looks like it's a pretty solid game in my opinion.
Yeah, it wasn't poorly received critically. It's around a 7, I think, on Metacritic.
Yeah, a lot of people say it was like it was above average game.
Yeah. Good for Ben, man.
Yeah.
Because as I said before,
I was scared for it,
dude. If this game didn't do well, they were gonna get closed. But I mean, they're probably fine.
Yeah.
Now, given those numbers, I mean, they're behind Mortal Kombat 11. I mean,
that's kind of expected, though.
The funny part about this is they don't show up on the games of 2019 list, but Mortal Kombat 11 is number 2. So Mortal Kombat 11 was significantly higher than Days Gone.
And that came on all platforms, too. You got to remember that.
Yes, that's true. That's true as well. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But for Sony, I mean, I think a hit for them is probably 2-3 million copies probably in one of these games.
Especially for a single-player game.
Yeah, so I would probably wager it probably is sold around there so far. Anything else jump out to you on this? Besides Jump Force?
Yeah, Jump Force. I can't believe that game is out there like that. But
dude, they're releasing new characters for it all the time. Kaiba's out.
What? Oh my god!
Yeah, Kaiba came out, man. You can summon the Blue Eyes White Dragon, baby.
Oh my god! That is
screw the rules. I have money.
One game that kind of sticks out to me for the April is Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. That game's 4 or 5 years old now.
No, 42.
Only 2 years old? Oh,
2017.
And Yoshi's Crafted World.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that one. That's Oh, actually, yeah, interestingly, Yoshi's Crafted World digital sales not included in their numbers, so they probably would have been higher on this list.
That's cool.
Same with all the Nintendo games on this list, actually. So they probably all would have been higher if those numbers were included, which is impressive, to say the least. All right, let's move on. This is the last story of the week. So this one, man, did this cause a debate online. So the World Health Organization has added a, quote, gaming disorder to the International Classification of Diseases. Basically, what this means, this is a quote from them. So, gaming disorder is characterized by a pattern of persistent or recurring gaming behavior, digital gaming or video gaming, which may be online, i.e. over the internet, or offline, manifested by impaired control over gaming, e.g. onset, frequency, intensity, duration, termination, context. 2, increasing priority given to gaming to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other life interests and daily activities. And 3, continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. The behavior pattern is of sufficient severity to result in significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other areas of functioning. The pattern of gaming behavior may be continuous or episodic and recurrent. The gaming behavior and other features are normally evident over a period of at least 12 months in order for a diagnosis to be assigned, although the required duration may be shortened if all diagnostic requirements are met and symptoms are severe. So this created a lot of controversy this week. I saw a lot of people taking pot shots at this all over Twitter.
Yeah.
And I find it kind of annoying because, like, addiction is real.
Yeah.
And you can be addicted to almost anything. Almost anything. Like,
it doesn't matter how strong you think you are.
Exactly. And I think the thing with this is, like, dude, like, gaming addiction, like, for me personally, I've had periods of time in my life where I would probably classify myself under this.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
World of Warcraft is a perfect example. I had to quit that game, and I gave my game, uninstalled the game, gave the game to my dad, and told him, take this and hide it somewhere because I can't control myself. Like, it was like having a negative impact on my school at the time. And I consciously realized that myself, but it was difficult to overcome. And to me, like, I mean, I've seen other people addicted to gaming before, and I think it's a very real thing. I think the fact that gamers in general kind of reacted so poorly to this is
yeah, that's why it's so weird, because I would think they would be all for this. If we want to be taken seriously as a group of people, then we have to acknowledge our shortcomings. And unfortunately, gaming disorder is one of our shortcomings, because we've all been addicted to a game. Yeah. For about a year or whatever short amount of time that this like, as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, when I first powered up League, I was like this. Like, when I jumped into League, and then even when I first started playing Monster Hunter for the PS2, like, I was addicted to it, and I was in high school. So I mean, it's definitely something that needs to be talked about. A lot of people don't talk about it because maybe they feel like they're ashamed of it. But I mean, our second episode, we talked about our various addictions. And I mean, a lot. I think, like I said, a lot of other platforms and bigger platforms need to have these discussions.
That's why I was so disappointed that it was almost ubiquitous, like unanimous. People were just taking shots at this, like making jokes about it, and it's like I feel like a lot of people felt like they were being attacked, almost that they were attacking gaming or trying to trying to make gaming look negative. But
a lot of people have this perception, like, well, if I can do it, you can do it, blah, 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 blah. And then, unfortunately, that kind of takes precedence over in the internet world. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure every one of those people who typed that been addicted to gaming. I mean, I'm pretty sure some of them haven't. Like, they're like, yeah, I love video games, but I never let it take over my life. And I'm like, okay, good for you, bro. But unfortunately, the guy down the street who's playing fucking Call of Duty every day, he doesn't have that luxury to understand, or he doesn't have the knowledge and know-how to be like, oh, maybe I am addicted to this game. I need to put it down for a minute. Like, I've done that. I've uninstalled games and not picked them up for like a year or two, and then came back to them like, okay, I can control myself when I play this game. But I don't know. It just really, when you told me about that, and I can only imagine the comments because I haven't been seeing it on Twitter. It's kind of disgusting.
It's
to me.
Gross. Yeah. No, I would term it as gross. Like, I think a lot of people are having fun at the expense of this, and it's like, I think, I mean, it's a real thing. Like
I think they're trying to say it's like a PC thing, but I don't think it's a PC thing.
Let's not feel threatened by something like this.
I don't think it's like a political correctness
thing. They're not
thing.
saying that gaming is bad. They're not saying that we shouldn't play video games. They're not saying that if you binge a game for 30 hours over a weekend, you have a gaming disorder. That's exactly not what they're saying. They're saying is if you let gaming, if you play games to the point where you lose your job, lose your wife, Your family doesn't want to talk to you anymore because you're irresponsible. You let your personal health fall off a cliff because you're so addicted to gaming. That is what they're talking about. Yeah. They're not talking about people like you and I who try to fit gaming in wherever we can, but are still responsible adults. Yeah. They're not talking about us. And I think a lot of people took it that way. That like, oh man, I beat God of War in 2 days. Do I have gaming addiction? No, dude, that's not what they're saying. Like, it's like, no, that's not what they're saying at all. And you're being a simpleton.
I think they're trying to get over the part where it says like it can reoccur. So like it's like it can reoccur.
It can reoccur
but it's not talking about how you said like you're doing a binge session one weekend. Like, man, I got the weekend off. All right, about to just fucking finish God of War. It's not like that. Like people, if that was the case, then people have Netflix addictions,
100%,
or other addictions that.
That's true as well. You can be addicted to television. Or anything, man. Like, addiction is rough.
I'm not going to sit here and say I don't understand why they're so defensive, because gaming has been attacked in the past.
100%. I just don't think that's
I don't think this is it, though. Yeah,
I don't think that's
I think they're coming to arms for the wrong reasons on this one.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think we all need to be like this is... Like, we need to help people that are addicted in this way, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm glad it's just actually verified, and I mean maybe we can start some kind of like
talking about
it. And I know some people. One of my friends, I never got this way. I'm not gonna put his business. I'm not gonna say who he was, but one of my friends did have a huge addiction to World of Warcraft, and he had to go to. And I didn't know it was a support group for people who have this type of addiction for World of Warcraft. And another friend like had an addiction to Destiny, and they actually have a support group for Destiny when it came out. Unfortunately, I don't think it's around anymore because Destiny kind of died out. But World of Warcraft was definitely one. I know it's still support groups online
like
that you can
go to.
It
happened to me, dude.
Yeah,
like it wasn't over a 12-month period either. It happened over a summer. I shit you not. There was an entire summer when I want to say it was between my sophomore and junior years of high school. That summer, I did not go outside. I woke up, ate something, got on my computer, played World of Warcraft for like 12 to 14 hours, and did nothing else. I did that for the whole summer, like 90 days in a row. And I didn't do any of the schoolwork I had to do over the summer. I didn't read any of the books I was supposed to read, and it was like there were like 2 days left before the summer was over, and I was like, man, this is bad. And I did something about it, but not everybody is able to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people would have just continued down that path, right? Not recognized what was happening. And it's not hard to fall into that, dude. Like, if you're like, for me, for instance, if I wasn't married, I would be at risk of this all the time. All the time. Same.
Dude, I mean, I'm not married, but same.
That's why it's so important to have a partner, because it's like I could easily go to work, come home, just play video games, and that's it. That's all I do, like, all the time.
Yeah, because when I'm around my partner, like, I don't think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, sometimes I do, but it's just like whatever. But then when I'm by myself, like this weekend, like, I just really dove into it, but. That's because this is like probably my first weekend I had to my...
Yeah, you don't do it every weekend.
Yeah. So, but like before though, when it was just myself, I had to rid myself of these bad habits that I had, because I was for a minute single for a while. Yeah. And I developed these bad habits of coming home from work, instantly going study for like a certificate or a certification or whatever. Then I just go straight into gaming, don't come out or whatever. And it was bad because, like, I was dating and people were trying to call me and hang out, and I'm I just play Persona 5. I don't want to talk to you.
That's what happened that summer. Like, when I was playing World of Warcraft, it was like I had a bunch of friends in high school that wanted to hang out with me, and I was like, I'm going to play WoW.
Yeah.
It was like... So, yeah, no, it's a real thing.
And another thing, like, people have this perception of what an addiction is and what that person looks like. They always think of, like, some skinny, frail dude or a girl or whatever who just doesn't come out the basement. It looks...
Yeah.
Like, no, it can be, like, a really buff person, or it can look like anybody, honestly, and they can get addicted to something.
Dude, addiction takes many forms.
Exactly.
Many forms.
So I think we really need to get out that... this, because I think that's where all this negativity is coming from. Like, people think addiction looks a certain way, and people think if you're strong-willed, then you can't get addicted. The most strong-willed people can get addicted to stuff, and gaming has a strong addiction tied to it, especially with these current mechanics coming out.
Because, dude, games want you to play them a lot.
Yeah.
Like, they require a lot of time out from you.
So, I mean, it got so bad, though, to where games had to start telling people to take breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even Monster Hunter tells you now.
Nintendo, yeah.
Yeah, Monster Hunter. Yeah, like, hey, take a break, man. You've been playing this for how many hours? You gotta take a break now.
It's so funny to me, though. I'm always like, fuck off. I'm not taking a fucking break. Fuck you, man.
I say that, and that instantly, honestly, I do one more mission, then I'll take a break. I'm like, okay.
I'm in control. Yeah. I'm in control. I always like Nintendo when they started doing that during the Wii era. I was like, man, don't tell me what to do, Nintendo. What are you, my dad? Get out of here, man. I'm going to play however long I want. All right. Moving on. All right. Game announcements. This one, I don't have much to say on this, but I just want to bring it up. Suda51 announced that Travis Strikes Again, the Switch game that came out, I think, last year, is getting a port for PS4 and PC. I don't even really know what this game is. I've heard of it a number of times, but I don't know what the actual gameplay is of this game.
It's kind of hard to say. I remember it came out on the Wii, and it was like very successful on the Wii.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really tell you too much about the game. I haven't played it, so. Well,
that's purely informational for those of you out there who care about this game. It's coming on PS4 and PC. I don't think they gave a date for it, though. I think they just teased that it's coming. So, all right. Next one. This one does pertain to us, I believe. So, Square Enix teased on Twitter a couple days ago that the original Star Ocean, the First Departure, the remake version, so Star Ocean First Departure R, which is the remake of the first game that came out on PSP, I think 10 or 12 years ago, is coming to Nintendo Switch and PS4. They didn't give a date for it. I don't even think they said it's coming out this year necessarily. They just kind of announced this out of the blue. I will probably play this game. I've always wanted to play the first Star Ocean. I never really had an opportunity to because I didn't... like on PSP, I wasn't super plugged in on Star Ocean at the time. I wasn't really a huge fan of the series. But and I never played the original on Super Nintendo, so I'm kind of excited about this personally. I'll be looking to see when this comes out. Any kind of thoughts from you on Star Ocean, I suppose?
No, I kind of gave up on that franchise a while ago.
Yeah, it's another one. We didn't mention it back when we were talking about Square, but yeah, this was another one that's Square.
Yeah, we couldn't think of any because that's because this game fell off the map.
Yeah, they've kind of screwed this franchise up because Integrity and Faithlessness came out, I think, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah,
on PS4, and that game, from everything I can tell, was a piece of trash.
Yeah,
and man, dude. You know, it's so sad, too, because Last Hope came out. People really disliked that game when it first came out, but now we look back on it fondly because it's all we've had in the franchise for, like, 15 years.
Yeah.
And then the series went silent for a long time, and they turned Tri-Ace into, like, a mobile developer for a while.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they did. And then, out of the blue, they announced Integrity and Faithlessness now, though. And then I was, like, excited. I was like, oh, my God. A new Star Ocean game? Holy crap. I didn't think this would ever happen again. And then, yeah, it was a pile of poop. So, I don't know.
That's Square, though.
But to play the first game again, or play the first game for the first time, I am definitely excited about that. All right, let's move on to new game releases this week. So, nothing that I can see that's really too big. Layers of Fear 2 is coming out on PS4, Xbox One, PC. DayZ is coming on PS4, which is funny.
Is that game...
I can't believe that game's still around.
Is it still in development?
Yeah.
It's still in early access?
I think
on
so.
Steam?
I think so.
That's fucking ridiculous.
I don't know who's playing it.
That's fucking ridiculous.
For all I know, they've turned it into a battle royale.
Probably.
Dude, I remember when this game was a phenomenon, though.
Yeah.
On YouTube. Dude, I used to watch hours and hours of people playing this game on YouTube.
I did, too.
Like, I don't know why I found it so fascinating to see... Because it was like the person playing, you get to watch... Like, when you're playing yourself, I didn't really care. I thought it was boring. Like, I didn't really think it was fun. But watching someone else play and see their psychology kind of morph as they run into people, they're like, was there somebody over there? Like, and they're like scared, and then they run into somebody, and it's like, do you shoot them? Do you give them stuff? Do you run around with them and partner with them? Like, what do you like? Just seeing that psychology play out over the course of them playing the game was really fun to watch.
It was cool. That was cool, but it was just like everything.
Just a fad,
it was buggy and
and it was just a fad, dude.
Yeah,
I think making it into a game was a mistake.
Yeah,
you know, it's funny that it kind of spawned the battle royale genre, though.
Yeah,
because Sony decided to try and make their own version of this game, which was H1Z1.
Yeah.
And then they had a mode in there called King of the Kill, I think.
Yeah.
Which was their Battle Royale mode. And that game, H1Z1, is kind of what spawned PUBG and everything else, dude. It's kind of crazy to think about DayZ was the impetus for all that.
I mean, it's kind of the same story with MOBAs. Remember, MOBA started on the RTS game.
That's true.
And then...
man, dude, like, the developer for this game, Bohemia, they're the ones who make the Arma games.
Yeah.
They must be kicking themselves. they basically helped spawn this. I mean, they didn't make the original version of DayZ. It was made by a guy named Dean Martin, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Or no, Dean Hall, I think.
I know it was like one guy. Something he had spaghetti code.
So. Yes. Yeah. No. And the game was like a phenomenon when it was in Arma. It was like a mod for Arma 2.
Yeah.
And then the second they hired him and gave him a team and they started making this game, it fell off a cliff. Like, nobody cared anymore. It was the weirdest thing. But to think that they made that investment and then Battle Royale got spawned as a genre.
Yeah, because I think the team that made the Battle Royale in H1Z1 usually like a team of modders, right? And I think they broke off and made PUBG and like... And sold it, right?
No, yeah. I think PlayerUnknown, the guy who made PUBG, I think he was part of the H1Z1 team.
Okay.
Which, man, it's just crazy to think about stuff like that. Like, it's nuts. It's just like the companies must be kicking themselves, right? Like, Sony... I
mean, just think about Blizzard. Like, how they dropped Dota, man.
I know, dude. Oh, they were so butthurt about that. Let's sue Valve, man. We own Defense of the Ancients because it was in our game. It was like, no, you own Warcraft, okay? You own Warcraft. That's about it.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy. Like, I'm wondering what's going to be the next genre that spawns off of another genre.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people don't think Battle Royale is a genre, but you're kind of fooling yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely a genre.
It's definitely a genre.
Yeah.
Any other games jumping out to you this week?
It's
kind of a slow week.
Yeah.
There is a game coming out on Switch called Battle Worlds Chronos. It's a turn-based strategy game coming out on Switch. I was interested in it when it was on PC, and then I saw it on the release list this week for Switch, and I was like, "Oh, what's this game?" And then I clicked on it, and I was like, "Oh, that game." Okay. There's a Guacamelee collection coming out for PS4 and Switch. It's both games.
People telling me, like, oh, you like Metroid, play that game. I'm like...
Dude, my brother wants me to play that game so bad. And I've never done it. I will play it someday. I don't know why. I just don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Metroidvanias just don't do it for me for some reason. Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition. That's about it.
Yeah.
I don't really see anything else. Alright. Let's move on to the topic of the show. Okay, so this week there was an interesting article on Destructoid. I really just read the headline. I didn't even read the article. But the headline kind of got me thinking. So the headline basically is, without loot boxes, what does the future of mobile gaming look like? And obviously this is referencing the bill in the United States that is kind of making its way through...
And it has bipartisanship.
Yeah, it's making its way through Congress right now. That will potentially ban loot boxes from video games.
I'm just a bill.
And I still don't believe this bill is going to pass in any meaningful way.
I hope it does. I mean, I really do hope it does.
It is an interesting topic, though, to kind of speculate about what would happen if it does pass and loot boxes are banned. What would game developers and publishers do to make up that ground? Because loot boxes are insanely lucrative.
They will have to start selling stuff individually. Each item. And now I was thinking about it, right?
It's just not going to work the same way, though, dude. They've found a gold mine that is...
I was thinking about it, though. So, like, in the bill, it says what defines a loot box is, like, random items, right?
Yes.
So, I think it's something about, like, an undetermined amount or something like that. So, what if they have the loot box, right? But they tell you exactly what you're going to get in that said loot box. Is it technically a loot box at that point?
What do you mean? So, like, you're on the store, and the loot box costs $2.
Yeah.
And it says in the store, if you buy this loot box, you're going to get this hat.
You're going to get this hat, this skin, this, that, and this, and that, and third. Like, is it technically a loot box?
No, that wouldn't be a loot box.
Each one would be random. Like, each time you click on it, though, it will be random. But you would know exactly what you get in that
so what
box.
would happen, though? Would there be, like, say you don't want it, right? And they still, like, would there be, like, a refresh timer?
Yeah,
like
it'll refresh. It'll refresh.
5 minutes, it refreshes, and it's a different item?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Because
dude, the thing is, okay, that it's not going to be as lucrative, because the thing is, people are just going to wait till the item they want pops, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now, the reason they make so much money is because it's just that rush of trying to get that item, right? It's that endorphin rush of gambling that exists, that you could buy 100 loot boxes and not get the item you want. So then you end up you still want the item, so you buy 100 more.
I just think the industry is probably going to go back to the way it was back in the 6th generation. Or was it 7th gen? Because we're in the 8th gen. I keep getting those mixed up.
7th gen.
7th gen. So when everything was like DLC,
you think more like Borderlands, where it's like overwhelming amounts of DLC.
Yep. And like how Gears of War had dislike content on there and things of that nature. I think it's just going to go back to that. Because, I mean, Fortnite's doing that now. Fortnite has skins you can just buy. Like,
there's no loot boxes.
There's no loot boxes
either. And they're heavily successful. Yeah, they're extremely successful.
But I think that's cool because, I mean, however you want to think about it. But, like, I think it's kind of honest in a way where you're like, hey, I want this skin. All right, I just paid the $10 to get this skin. I mean, League of Legends does that all the time.
That's true as well. Yeah, they don't really. Well, they do have loot boxes, but
it's more so you can't buy that loot box. Oh, you can.
No, you can. Yeah. No, Dota has them as well, but you can buy skins individually too.
Yeah. So
right.
I mean, honestly, I don't even know anyone that buys the loot box. They just buy the skin directly. I buy the skin directly. I don't buy a loot box or anything like that.
Well, so what's the verbiage of the bill though? Is it says anything that is a randomized outcome?
I should have brought it up. I should have had the bill.
Dude, that's really important because if they can find a loophole,
that's what I'm saying. I was trying to think like, what's the loophole I can figure? If I can figure something out, I'm pretty sure a fucking Harvard degree lawyer they already hired on their payroll.
Well, because dude, that's what I'm thinking. Like Dota does random loot out of their loot boxes. However, they have this mechanic with them that every time you buy a loot box and open one, it increases your chance to get the super rare shit out of the loot box by a certain amount. And eventually, if you buy enough loot boxes, you're guaranteed to get the item. People don't know exactly what that number is, but generally speaking, you don't have to buy all that many to get the item compared to before, where it could take 1,000 before you got it. So you could have cascading. Something like that. Is that considered random still? Like, if you have an effect like that in your game, like some kind of mechanic like that? Or do you do it differently where, say, you get a guaranteed item out of every loot box, and you get something on top of it that's random? Would that still be considered a loot box, according to this law? Because that's kind of the important... That's the important part of this, is if they can figure out a loophole to keep selling loot boxes, they will. Right? They don't want to lose this. I mean, this would be devastating to some game companies, certain companies. Like Blizzard, right, with Overwatch. Like, dude, they'd have to completely change their monetization model of that game. Like, completely change it. Because that's all they have is loot boxes.
I mean, you're right. That's why I want it to pass, because I want to see what will happen. But and another reason I don't want it to pass is I don't know how it can affect consumers negatively. That's what I'm really thinking about.
Well, yeah, because dude, like, right, you can't sell anything that's random. Like, what does that mean? Is that going to eliminate Hearthstone as a, like, collectible card games as a genre of video games? Because that's exactly what, dude. That's like the whole thing with that game. That it's a digital collectible card game. I mean, those games are predicated on randomized card packs, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically you could eliminate that entire genre, you know, if something like this passed. And those games exist in reality. Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! Those games are...
I was thinking about that. So, like, with card games, like physical card games...
Well, does it mention specifically video games?
That's what I'm trying to look for right now.
If it does specifically mention video games, they're probably exempt. But those industries have been around for 20 plus years, right?
Yeah,
is those collectible card games. So it's like a weird discussion. I mean, what technically could they get away with? You know, do they have to give you something guaranteed that they tell you up front what it is? If that's the case, they can get around it probably, right?
Yeah. And
what is the stipulation on that too? Does the item they give you guaranteed have to be different every time, or could it be the same item every time? You know. Because if all they have to do is put an item in there that they give every single person that buys a loot box, I mean, there you go. You know, it's like there's your loophole. You can still sell loot boxes.
Why is it so hard to find the actual bill in the verbiage? I just don't understand. Because
nobody wants you to know, bro.
This is ridiculous.
That is United States politics, man. You're not supposed to know exactly what the bill says. Like,
this is why.
Because there's a whole bunch of garbage in there. That is completely irrelevant to banning loot boxes.
Like I'm looking it up right now, and I'm trying to find it, and no one's like giving an exact.
Yeah,
it's articles about it, but I can't find the exact one.
Well, let me see.
I watched Young Year's video on it, but.
Here we go. I think I found something that's usable. It's not the actual bill itself, but it's an article about the bill, and it kind of has the words they use.
Was it the Kotaku article?
No, it's something else. Okay, so this is what I'm seeing. Games. So the Protecting Children from Abusive Games Act would apply new consumer protections to games played by minors, including games targeted at those under the age of 18. This would be determined by subject matter, visual content, and other indicators similar to those used to determine applicability of the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Games with wider audiences whose developers knowingly allow minors to engage in microtransactions. In the games that fall under these categories, the bill would prohibit several forms of allegedly manipulative design, loot boxes, microtransactions offering randomized or partially randomized rewards to players. So there you go. Partially randomized, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything I just said could be out the window, right? If you got one guaranteed item, but then another thing's randomized, it's partially randomized, right?
Oh,
at that
okay.
point. So that would be out the window. And then the other one is pay to win. Manipulation of a game's progression system, typically by building artificial difficulty or other barriers into game progression to induce players to spend money on microtransactions to advance through content supposedly available to them at no additional cost. Manipulation of the competitive balance between players of multiplayer games by allowing players who purchase microtransactions competitive advantages over other players. I mean, dude, that is really widely encompassing, those last 2 points. Like the manipulation of the game's progression system, typically by building artificial difficulty or other barriers in order to induce people to buy
Shadow of War.
Exactly, Shadow of War. I'm not even thinking about just Shadow of War. This would include like Assassin's Creed Odyssey with the XP boosters.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
XP boosters would be out the window, right? And then in multiplayer games, like something like Battlefront 2 would be out the window, which, I mean, nobody's going to be sad about that, but that's really vague, though. You could really apply that to many things, I feel like.
So the thing is, they could still technically make these games, but
well, dude, like
you have to be over the age of 18 to play it.
Yes. Yeah, but like League of Legends, right? Dude, that game would be out the window. Because,
really?
Yeah, no, think about it. I could totally argue that this falls under the manipulation of the competitive balance between players of a multiplayer game by allowing players who purchase microtransactions competitive advantages over other players. Think about that game, right? I've always made this argument about League of Legends and why I don't like the game. Because the fact that they sell you characters is technically giving other players a competitive advantage because you have access to characters that other people don't have access to. So, say you pick a character, right? You pick character A, and characters B, C, and D are all counters to that character. Well, what happens if you come up against a team, none of the people that you're playing against have a counter to that character? That is a competitive advantage, straight up. Like,
oh, shit.
And that's my biggest issue with League.
And you know what? Not only to the League of Legends, but what if a fighter comes out and they have a DLC character?
100%. Dude, like all of that is out the window, right?
Oh, shit.
That's crazy. Like, League would have to completely change the way they do business. Like, they'd have to make all characters free and then sell cosmetics, like the way Dota does.
Yeah. I mean, because honestly, no one really buys the characters. They just use the in-game currency that you have.
I mean, I'm sure they make money off of it, though.
They make. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Do, right? Like, so...
But yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, if Street Fighter comes out, Street Fighter 5, it's already out, but they drop I don't know, Super Evil Ryu, a new character, right?
Super Evil Ryu. Didn't they already do that?
Yeah, it's Evil Ryu.
It's like yeah. It's not a real thing.
That is a real character.
Right. Let's say Guile. Guile's not in the launch lineup.
Yeah, let's just say Evil Guile.
Sort of boom.
So you got Evil Guy, who's like a completely different character.
Yeah.
And one can argue that
just the existence of him as a separate purchase
exactly
could give people a competitive advantage because, again, if you don't you might not know how to play against him. You've never fought against him before, right? Like, he's not a common character in the pool. You can't play as him, so you don't know how to play against him because you've not played as him, right? You don't know his moveset. You don't know anything. Technically, that's, minor or not, that's a competitive advantage too. It's like, it's very wide-ranging, honestly.
Yeah, that is a wide range. They have to be more specific with that.
I mean, I don't know if this article is given the exact wording. It's breaking it down in bullet points, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's what when I was watching Young Gil's video, and he was talking about it. Like, that's what I remember seeing, and or that's what I remember hearing because he was reading it word for word, the actual bill itself.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
we should have found that.
Yeah, like I'm trying to look for it right now.
Oh well.
But what do you think though? Like, while I'm looking for it, what do you think?
That's tough because I hate microtransactions in all their forms. However, I have to acknowledge that I don't know if I really truly believe this, but a lot of people make the argument that microtransactions are a necessary evil for us to get the games we get, right?
Yep, I found it. All right, but yeah, keep going.
No, go ahead and read it. I'd like to hear the actual wording.
All right, so I'll send you the link here.
Okay.
I'll just put it in a drive here somewhere, or put it on a document.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it should be there now.
Got it. All right, go ahead.
All right. Oops, did I just lose it? All right, there he is. So I'm trying to look for one, minor-oriented game. The term minor-oriented game is an interactive digital entertainment product for which audience an individual under the age of 18 may be demonstrated by blah, 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 blah. So pretty much, they can put this stuff in there, but it has to be over the age of 18.
It has to be an M-rated game.
Yeah.
Right.
But we don't know if they're going to use the ESRB's rating. And the thing is, this just cover like the video game. It's like the advertising, how they advertise the game. Like the music and quality. I mean, all that does go into the ESRB ratings. But they never, I never really considered like the advertising as well.
Yeah.
So games like Call of Duty will have to be rated M because it's rated T now. Games like League of Legends will have to be rated M if they want to continue their stuff. Games like Overwatch will have to be rated M. Like these games, under this law, those games would be rated M.
Yeah, but the problem is that in the game, is that in the publishers and the developers' control? They don't get to control what rating they get. The ESRB does. So if the ESRB rated your game E for everyone, are you just fucked? Like,
yeah,
like that's the. I mean, obviously the ESRB is they're an entity that has gaming. I feel like, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting question, man. I don't know. Like, would they give a game an M rating just so they can sell loot boxes? Because that's kind of skeevy, isn't it?
You're right. So another thing is, okay, difficulty modes should not include add-on pretty much they're not included as add-ons or something like that. They're legal. They will be legal under this.
Wait, like a difficulty mode?
Yeah. Like
okay.
If you sell New Game Plus or something like that.
Got it. Yeah. Which doesn't happen often, but that might start happening more if this bill passes.
Well, I don't know. Hold on. Look under, I don't know what section this is. Page 8, and then go down to line 23.
Page 8?
Line 23. Damn, I feel like a lawyer.
I know. What am I was just about to say. We're like. You said line 23.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Difficulty modes.
So I'm not sure because it references add-ons and it tells you what add-ons is.
Well, let me read it.
Yeah.
So difficulty modes. Such terms shall not include an add-on transaction to an interactive digital entertainment product that provides the user with access to a new mode of play that makes progression through the content of the product more difficult than it would be without the transaction, as perceived by a reasonable user.
So actually, this would be, if they did sell New Game Plus, that would be illegal, I'm assuming.
No, it says shall not include.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, shall not include an add-on transaction that provides the user with access to a new mode of play.
Gotcha. So it does have the pay to win, which is on page 7.
And it says cosmetic alterations right after that.
Yeah.
Such terms shall not include an add-on transaction to an interactive digital entertainment product whose only effect is to alter a user's visual representation within the game, provided that it does not, from the perspective of a reasonable user, provide the user with a competitive advantage over other users.
Oh, yeah, it is under Section B, exclusions. So everything under that.
Yeah, so this is all exclusions.
Yeah.
So
additional
difficulty modes,
content.
Cosmetics, additional game content, so DLC. They actually spell out too what additional game content means to them.
That's interesting. This bill is interesting.
Yeah. Oh man, I kind of want to like read this whole thing.
I think I'm gonna read it tonight.
Oh man,
you guys should read it.
This is very interesting. Yeah,
it's on the www.hawley or hawley.senate.gov, and you can search it on that site.
Yeah, this is definitely worth reading. This is very interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know how far this went. This is extremely all encompassing.
You can because they talked to the senator or the guy who's pushing this bill, and he doesn't play video games. He says children don't play video games. But when you read the verbiage in this bill, someone in his ear definitely played video games.
100%. That's what I was thinking here because, dude, this is written like it's written by a gamer.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like the words they're using are very gamer-centric.
Yeah.
Right? Interesting.
The pay-to-term transaction means add-on transactions to interactive digital entertainment that respect to the interactive digital media product that, from the perspective of a reasonable user, is a game offering scoring system, a set of goals to achieve, a set of rewards, blah, 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 to progress the narrative or whatever. So if you pay for that, that's like a pay-to-win mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're paying to progress the game, right? So that would be illegal.
But like you said, because it is some stuff verbiage under here, like you said, I wonder what new characters fall under that.
I don't know.
And then another thing is, I do like the verbiage here, though. Because, like, you play those fucking cell phone games, and they like, oh, if you want to play the game some more, either wait 3 hours or, you can pay for this currency.
Well, I think that's why that article by Destructoid was written, because, dude, this would blow up the mobile gaming market. It would. Those games wouldn't be allowed to exist.
But would we start getting quality mobile games, though?
Dude, gotchas would not be allowed to exist, right? They'd be gone.
Yeah.
Straight up. All of them. They'd all be gone. I mean, obviously, they'd be able to exist in other countries, but I think they would significantly change in the U.S., like, the games. Dude, there would be huge ramifications to this bill.
Because what if this does gain traction in America? And let's just say, hypothetically, America does pick up this bill. It doesn't get vetoed or anything.
Yeah.
I think Japan would definitely follow behind us and ban it on their side.
They already have heavy restrictions.
Really?
Like, way heavier than we do, yeah. Gotchas over there are a lot more. I mean, there's a lot of rumor mongering with this. People think that gotchas in Japan aren't allowed to change things in a negative way. Like, they can't nerf things. That's not true.
Okay.
From what I understand, like that is a common misconception. People seem to think there's a law over there that stops gotchas from, like, nerfing characters. They can do that.
Okay.
They just don't.
They just don't do it.
It looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they do have other restrictions, though, over there, that they're a little bit stricter on stuff than we are. But I think the thing is, man, if the U.S. does this, I agree with you. Like, if this did pass in the United States, I think a lot of countries would follow suit.
Yep.
With us. I think a lot of countries in Europe probably would, and they're already doing it in Europe, right?
Yep.
Belgium,
they're already doing
being the first one. I'm thinking about, like, 2 years ago, right?
I'm scared. I'm like legitimately scared.
No, but think about, like, 2 years ago. Did you think this was ever a possible reality? That
I didn't think it was gonna blow up like this.
EA fucked up, man.
What if EA, like I said, man, it's like the unseen.
They're like trying to save gaming.
Yeah, what if somebody's out there, like a CEO up there?
Yeah,
it's
one
just
of the high executives. It's like, man,
he's like, I'm gonna save gaming by destroying it first.
I'm gonna tear it to the ground so we can rebuild it. He's like Xehanort, dude.
Yeah,
He wants to purge gaming. So he can build it from the ground up in his own image.
He's a Reapers, man.
He's a fucking Reapers. EA's the Reapers, baby. Yeah, it comes full circle. Oh my god. Oh, that's awesome. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
No, it's just so funny to think about, like, before Battlefront 2 came out, like, where we were, right?
We were complaining about it, but it wasn't like this bad.
Well, it was leading up, right?
Yeah.
Like, leading up to that, because that was when Shadow of War came out, and everybody was so pissed about that game, and it's like, then Battlefront 2 was, like, the game that was the climax of that whole half of a year.
Well, it was a popular franchise. Right? It was Star Wars, and I'm pretty sure people who don't even play video games bought that game, dude. And there was a lot of other people who stopped playing video games, but they played Battlefront because of a nostalgia factor back in the day. They went back and bought this game. They're like, what the fuck? I gotta pay to play Darth Vader? Like, what are you talking about?
Dude, I wonder how many suits around the United States are sweating bullets right now at this whole thing, man. Like, reading this bill.
Because I'm thinking, right, what if lobbyists are, like, trying to pay these politicians off, but the politicians are like, no, these gamers are actually voters and my constituents, and if I don't pass this, I may not get into office. Like, I
mean, dude, it's an interesting situation. Because
this wouldn't be pushed if someone is not saying, like, hey,
this can get you votes.
This can get you votes.
Right. No, you're 100% right, dude. Totally. I think the problem is that the current state of this bill, I think it's going too far.
Oh, right? 100%. It's definitely have to be.
To me, the only thing I actually want banned is loot boxes. I'm going to go back to what I was trying to say earlier. Like, I don't think microtransactions are necessary for games to exist in the form we have them now. However, I think some microtransactions have allowed certain franchises to blossom in ways that we didn't think they ever would. Fire Emblem being an example, right? It's a necessary evil that Fire Emblem Heroes exists. If it didn't, I don't think we would
get
continue to get 3 houses and console releases, because they just don't sell that well.
But the thing is, I agree with that, but I'm looking at both sides of the spectrum.
No, 100%, dude.
Yeah,
go for it.
And I don't think game companies are using it responsibly.
No, like they're not. No, they absolutely aren't.
Yeah, this comes back to like we need to regulate, or not we, but the industry needs to regulate itself.
But dude, this whole thing is trying to ban basically anything that isn't cosmetic microtransactions or DLC add-ons. That's what this bill would ban, right? And is that a step too far to you?
It is,
because it would have, like we said, it would have an adverse effect on League of Legends.
Yeah, it would. I mean, oh well.
That game would have to change
significantly. But my thing is this, right? Like, I'm hoping this scares companies into like, okay, we're gonna regulate ourselves. Don't pass the bill, whatever. Just don't do it, because like even if they do turn this bill down and they be like, okay, we're not gonna do this, and then they keep doing the same shit. Gamers have a voice now to where we can reach legislation, and they're like, another bill came up, and it's even more like diverse, or not diverse, but pinpointing,
all encompassing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, the industry did it to itself. Like even with the union thing, a lot of people don't want unions. A lot of people are anti-union, and I know there are various reasons why, and I understand those reasons why.
Yeah.
But the industry did it to itself.
Well, dude, the thing is, I think they felt like gamers weren't going to rise up in some way. I think they underestimated gamers in general. Because, dude, any of us can call our senator. We can call our representatives.
I guarantee you, the person who wrote this is a lawyer who probably plays video games.
But what I'm saying is the reason this bill probably came into existence, like you said, the guy who is trying to push this through doesn't play games. His kids don't play games. So how does this happen? A bunch of people probably within his constituents probably called his office and was like, "Hey, this shit is out of control. We need to do something about this. This is bad for kids."
Well, he said that parents were calling them because they were getting their credit cards
dude,
maxed out.
Exactly, right? I and obviously a lot of people are going to argue, right, be a better parent, pay more attention. But, dude, it's like, it's easy to say when you're not a parent and you don't have kids. Like, I mean, what are you going to do? Hide your wallet in a freaking safe? Like,
and then even, I forgot, was it the ESRB? Or what's the company that's kind of lobbying for games?
ESA.
The ESA came out and was like, "Oh, this bill is very disingenuous."
It's so gross, dude.
This is not an accurate representation of the gaming industry and how we handle our transactions. It's actually very informative, and parents do have a lot of control what their kids can purchase, and they take you to this convoluted website that I didn't even fucking know about that tells you how to block microtransactions on like PlayStation, things of that nature, parental controls and everything like that. But let's be honest,
it's on a website,
yes,
a web browser. Like, what? That's not proper. That's not proper.
That's what I'm saying. Let's be honest, like. You can be the best mom in the world.
Oh God,
you're not going to be like, let me
figure out how to block microtransactions.
Yeah, you don't even know what microtransactions are.
Dude,
like
for real, dude, for real. The ESA is so full of shit. They're disgusting. Like,
and just think about it, it's probably gamers like us who do have children and who are age or a little bit older, and I'm like, this shit's getting out of control. My kids I play video games a lot. My kids are starting to play video games on my cell phone or this and that and the third, and they're racking up $5,000 bills. I can do everything I need to get from them, but they keep finding a way to do it. And he said he has a whole bunch of stories like this that people are like, kids are like stealing credit cards to get these loot
people
boxes.
Are calling his office, right? Like, and any of us can do that. We can all call our senators and representatives. Like,
so it's even non-gamers who are coming out like, this shit is getting out of control now.
Yeah,
and I can only
the fact that we're at that point isn't that proof that they went too far?
Yeah,
they overstepped their bounds. Like, there was a limit to this stuff, I think, where we would have all accepted it. And they went way over that line.
They didn't want to listen, man.
Because okay,
they're bringing in billions of dollars a year off this shit.
Like, dude, Jim Sterling kind of goes crazy sometimes with some of this stuff, but he says one thing that always resonates with me because it's so true with these game companies: is that they don't want a lot of money. They want all the fucking money, right? That is what they want, and I think in their quest to do that, they've potentially ruined what their real ceiling was. Is that their real ceiling is going to be way lower now? Because if they lose the ability to do this, they're not going to make anywhere near the money they're making now. Like, I'm sorry. Like, dude, if Madden and FIFA have to give up Madden Ultimate Team...
Oh, my God.
Dude, those games are going in the fucking toilet. I'm telling you. Who's going to buy them? Franchise mode sucks.
The one thing they can do, though, what I was thinking, right? So, say, like, for Madden, right?
Yeah.
You got Odell Beckham comes out. Only 99 Odell Beckham cards available.
Yeah.
So, you got to buy it $20 a pop.
Yeah.
People will eat that shit up like, oh man, I gotta hurry me get it before the time runs out. Because
yeah, but that whole mode would have to be redesigned.
Oh yeah, 100%. They'll figure out a way to
actually.
Monetize
you're
it.
Right though. They could do it. No, they could totally do it. No, what they would do, dude, you're totally right. Because they could still have the card packs in the mode. They're just free.
Yeah,
they're not. You don't pay for them in any way. And there's no way to buy them. Like you don't buy a currency that lets you buy the card packs.
Yep.
You still structure the mode around the card packs, but you let players earn them really quickly.
Yep.
So they can actually field a good team or whatever. But then you have limited edition players that you sell individually. But again, though, that falls under competitive advantage because that is a multiplayer mode.
Ah,
that
you're right.
Ultimate Team. So that
shit.
wouldn't even work, dude.
Yeah.
Like they're. They'd have to redo the whole thing.
They'll actually have to make a good Madden game.
Exactly. They're not gonna do that in a year. They're not. They'd have to take Madden off the shelf for a couple of years and really, really invest money into making it good.
Damn.
Yeah, and they'd be in big trouble because I think Madden and FIFA would sell a lot, but they're not making money off box sales. That's not what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They're looking for Madden Ultimate Team and FIFA Ultimate Team. That's where their money lies.
And I'm pretty sure it's people's spouses who are addicted to this shit, and they probably call the center like, "Yo, my husband or my wife's addicted to this shit, and it's getting out of control now." Like, we're about to lose our house because they keep playing fucking FIFA Ultimate Team or some shit like that. I'm pretty sure there are whales, what they call whales. Yeah. There are definitely whales in video games.
Oh, for sure.
And it's getting ridiculous now.
It's just an interesting...
They will have to... The only way they can get away with it, right? They will have to sell Madden Ultimate Team as a separate add-on, but you have to be 18 and older to buy it.
That's true. That's what they would do.
Yeah.
That's what all these games would do.
Yep.
That's a really good call. They would make a kids version of the game.
Yep.
That is the base version of the game.
Yep.
And then they would sell you the normal actual game as an add-on pack for $10 or whatever.
And they're allowed to do that because it'll be known as an 18 over.
What would happen. So they make a shitty, crappy kid version of the game that kids can play.
Yep.
And then the rest of us would have to buy some add-ons. Dude, they would...
More money.
They would spin this they'd spin it into making more money. They'd sell you the shitty Madden for $60 and then they'd charge you 10 extra bucks for Madden Ultimate Team. So you're paying 70 instead of 60.
Yeah, it's just very immature.
You're an asshole. We just put this into the ether.
I'm sorry, I had to think of it. I don't think this bill should pass.
You're totally right. So what would Riot do with League?
They will have to have... I mean, it can still be free to play.
So you do the free to play version of the game.
Well, okay, so it's like porn sites, right? I'm pretty sure we've all been on porn sites, even when we were in high school.
Yeah.
And you click, "Hey, are you over the age of 18? You're fucking 16." But you're like, "Yes," and you go on the porn site. So I'm pretty sure they will have to have some kind of barrier saying, "Hey, are you over the age of 18?" You're like, "Yes."
I don't think it'd be that easy.
I think
it would be a separate. I think it would be money. Need to be a monetary transaction involved.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think League would have a free to play version where you get the free characters and that's all you get, and you're in a separate pool of players.
No. Don't say that.
And then
that's stupid.
No, and then you have to pay $10 or $20 to get access to real League of Legends with all 100 and whatever characters, and then you have the same game.
It'll be League of Legends Lite.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. Madden Lite, FIFA Lite. Man, you just came up with the answer for them.
Oh, I'm pretty sure a lawyer already on this shit.
You're 100%, dude. No, they've already thought of it. These people are out of their minds.
Yeah.
They want all the money, bro. They want all the money. They're gonna figure out a way to sell this, where they're gonna start selling the game for $40, and then you pay $20 extra, and you get the mode. God, dude. Oh man, see, that's the thing. This bill is specifically targeted at children, so that's kind of the. Interesting. So it's not as dire as we think, then.
Well, they can just put on the box or something like that. The transactions are intended for 18-year-olds and up.
They already do that.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Well, they don't say 18 and up, but they say this game has microtransactions.
But they have to put on there specifically 18 years and up.
No, they don't do that.
Yeah, I think that would be a loophole to get around it.
Would it though? Because I mean, it's prohibiting the sale of these things to minors.
Yeah, but if you put these are intended for 18 years and up. That, like I said, it's like the porn site thing, right? You just click yes and you're in. You're in. I think what you're saying about League of Legends is extreme. I think what Dota and League of Legends would do is they will have a barrier, and that barrier is good enough for them to be like, hey, well, the person said they were 18. What can we do?
Yeah, I mean. Because Belgium banned loot boxes outright, straight up, for anybody in the country. So that's realistically that's not what this is.
Yep.
This is only for minors.
Yep.
So it's really not that crazy. But the thing is like if this passes, like how big of a step is it to make it for everybody?
Or even with, I was just thinking about it. I can take that barrier thing a step further, right? Madden can probably still sell the transactions when you buy it. You load the game, it'll be like, hey, are you over the age of 18? Yes. All right, Madden Ultimate Team for you. No.
I just don't think it would be that easy, man. That seems like way too...
That's the loophole. The 18 up thing is the loophole. The lawyers would eat that shit up. I'm thinking of shit right here on the fly. Just think what a fucking lawyer can do.
I just don't. I think it's too easy of an answer. I don't think that would work for them.
I think that's the solution right
because
there.
The thing is, who's accountable then if a minor buys a microtransaction? The company's still accountable for selling that to a minor.
Yeah, I mean you're right.
Yeah, it's not like, dude, like right, like you're on the street selling something to somebody.
See, the thing is, it's hard to manage a digital store to a casino, right? You can obviously tell a baby's going to a fucking casino.
Yeah, right. You walk into a casino, and like it's like you said. If you walk into a casino and you're 17 and you're like you say to the guy, "Hey, I'm 18," and he's just like, "All right, cool, come in." Like, dude, no, they would get busted for that.
Yeah.
Like, if they got caught doing that, they'd get fined big time for that. So it'd be the same thing in this case. I think they would actually need real proof that you're actually 18.
So you think you have to start at the counters?
Yeah.
In a digital market, how would the digital market do that? Though?
I don't know. It's a good question.
You would have to make an account.
They'd have to figure it out.
Yeah, you have to make an account verifying that you're 18 and older.
Well, you can make a child's account on consoles.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, though. But you have to personally make an account if you are 18 years and older to buy purchases. I mean, they already sort of kind of do that already. Yeah. But I think it would be more extreme if this bill went into place.
Yeah, that's interesting. Man, this is fascinating.
Even on cell phone games, right? Like,
yeah.
Majority of the kids who play cell phone games play it on someone else's phone.
Yeah, I think very specific games would get heavily affected. Yeah. Right? Fortnite would be okay because I don't think any of their transactions would be affected by this bill. But other games like this that are aimed at kids, like phone games.
Yeah, like Candy Crush and shit like
Crush, Clash of Clans, anything like that, dude. Yeah, they're in trouble. They need to figure something out.
I don't know, man.
Or they just give up a section of their market, I guess.
They have to actually start making good cell phone games.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get there.
Yeah.
That's what's so ugly about this whole situation. These companies are so desperate to not make a good video game. Like, they're so desperate to not make a good game.
Yeah, I was just thinking, right? Just now while we're talking. At one point, game companies... The way to get more money was to make a good game. Like, you had to make a good game.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And it's like now they don't even focus on that anymore. And
You just buy the exclusivity license for whatever IP you're trying to sell your game for, and
Yeah.
then well, there you go. People have to buy it because they want to play a football game. They're coming through you, so EA's got to figure it out. They're not saving anybody. They're not the Reapers. They're not Xehanort. They're just evil.
I just don't understand how you can work for this industry and just want to completely destroy it because of money. Like, I understand money's good, helps you through a lot of things, but
I mean, they're not actively trying to destroy the industry. It's just they just want to make as much money as possible.
That's
right?
destroying the industry, and they know it's destroying the industry. It's like people who. It's almost like the pollution thing, right? Like, if you have a company and you know it's polluting, but because X amount of dollars need to go into this kind of infrastructure and you don't want to invest in that, you're like, whatever, the legislation's letting me get away with it, so I'm not going to put that money in. I'm still making money, whatever. I think it's the same thing. Now, not to say the environment, compare that to video games, but I'm just saying the same kind of logic applies to video games where the market has decreased in its terms of quality.
Yeah.
Over quantity.
Yeah.
Everyone wants the top dollar, but they want to put the actual bare minimum in for that top dollar.
Yeah, minimum viable product.
Yeah. Right? It's like, I don't know why I keep comparing games to like cars, right? But like Ford, right? Yeah, this is like the second. It's like the 10th podcast I did that
You're
shit.
gonna get Dennison on, man.
Yeah.
You gotta start geeking out about cars on our video game show.
Like Ford, for instance, right?
Yeah.
They were making like cheap products, but they wanted to get top dollar for it. But it became a meme that Ford products were terrible.
Yeah.
And then they had to do a whole turnaround. Now Ford is actually in an okay spot now.
But they're going to stop selling sedans because why? I don't know. So bad about that.
But, like, I think the game industry, if this bill passes, the game industry is definitely going to crash. But it's going to have to rebuild itself.
I don't think it's going to crash. I just think, like...
It's going to be another crash. It's going to be another depression. Like, I don't think it's going to go away all the way.
I will say, dude, like, the past few years have been really encouraging from my perspective, from the consumer perspective. I think the market has really reacted to these games, you know? Like, EA's been eating shit.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like, they're not doing very well the past couple of years because people have figured them out. They're not making good games. They're trying to nickel and dime you, trick you into buying shit that's useless, you know?
Yeah.
They're not trying to make a good video game, and people know that now, right?
Yeah.
You know,
right.
the market has reacted, and the same thing is happening in Activision, you know? The same thing's happening in Blizzard as well. You know, it's like it's slow. It's very slow, but and then a company like Ubisoft, who used to be as bad. I mean, they're as bad as both of them, but they've at least started to try to make quality games, right?
Yeah.
Like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That was a really quality game.
It is. You're right.
And it's obvious they put a lot of effort into that game, right? And it paid off. I mean, like we were saying, that's one of the top selling games of this year, and it came out last year, you know? Like, that's paying off for them. Actually, I'm going to go back to that list real quick. Hold on, let me pull it up, because that is a really interesting point. How many of the games on this list are quote-unquote microtransaction games? Top selling games of the year. Kingdom Hearts 3, single-player game with no microtransactions.
At all.
Mortal Kombat 11.
That has microtransactions.
That has a lot of microtransactions.
Yep.
Tom Clancy's Division 2. No microtransactions, really. They have the cosmetics.
Yeah, that apparel store, but
they're really minor. Anthem had microtransactions, but they're pathetic and pretty much useless.
No one buys them.
Nobody buys them. Resident Evil 2, single-player game. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, that has DLC, but it's DLC characters and stages. Nothing too egregious. Red Dead Redemption 2, no microtransactions. Does have a online mode that has microtransactions, but it's a full single-player experience. It's like 80 to 100 hours.
Yeah.
Right? Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, full single-player game. Jump Force, that one has DLC, I think, right?
Yeah, it's a fighting game, so
DLC characters. And then MLB 19 The Show, which as far as I know, doesn't have any egregious.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything bad about that.
I mean, most of the things on that list, not really microtransaction games, and that's the top selling games of 2019 so far. I mean, that's the market speaking right there, you know?
Yeah, and
it pays to make a quality game.
You're completely right, but the thing is, EA owns a lot of IPs that we love. They own the Mass Effect series. They got Star Wars right now.
They're changing that though. That is changing. People don't love Mass Effect anymore.
Oh yeah, I understand that now.
They don't necessarily love Dragon Age anymore. They don't love BioWare anymore. Like, that's changed, man.
It is changing. It's just, I don't think it's changing fast enough. They keep trying. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Companies keep trying.
Yeah.
They won't listen to the consumers. The consumers are trying to tell them, like, hey, we don't... I'm pretty sure the last thing I want is the government to get involved in my games. I'm not a fucking... what do you call those people?
Lobbyists?
Not lobbyists. Not a liberal. What are they called? It starts with an L, though. Libertarian. I'm not libertarian, but I don't want the government in my video games. I don't believe the government should be in part of every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
So for this bill to come out is scary for me. Yeah. I don't know what else they can push.
I don't really support this. Like, I don't want to see this pass personally.
I don't think anyone wants to see this pass. But the thing is, I just want this to scare the industry until like
exactly. Like, loot boxes getting banned, I wouldn't really have a problem with that.
I wouldn't either.
I would probably support that if that was all the bill said was loot boxes are banned straight up. I would support that. The problem is, in the United States, nothing is ever that simple with these bills. Like, there's always something else in there. So,
the pay to win thing, I understood what they were trying to go for, but I think
it's too all encompassing.
You need to be very specific.
Yeah,
it needs to be like exclusion, like when except for pay for extra characters on a fighting game. Like, they have to be very specific with that.
There need to be a lot of like little points in there, I think. Yeah. Man, we're in an interesting spot.
We're in for a wild ride, man. These next couple of years are really going to decline.
Yeah, dude, going into the next gen, man, I'm going to be really fascinated to see. Because, dude, think about it, right? These generations all kind of have a story, right? Like, last Gen 7, that was the story of online infrastructure kind of becoming a thing, digital rising up, right? And DLC becoming a thing, and microtransactions kind of first becoming a thing, but not really being huge yet. This generation has been all about microtransactions and exploring that spectrum of microtransactions, right? Because early on in the generation, we didn't have anything too crazy egregious, but as we've gone on, it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Well, not only that,
figure out what they can get away with.
Well, not only that, since the rise of social media and things of that nature and Reddit and everything like that, I think the secondary story or the other part of that book, if this was the Song of Fire and Ice, it would be Song of Fire and Ice relationships with the consumers, like, because companies between consumers and manufacturers, because consumers are now talking directly to these people and like, hey, we don't want this shit. And now the market is responding to that. Whether they listen or not is totally a different story.
Yeah.
I think EA, the reason why the reason why Star Wars was so beneficial, because Disney had to get involved and like, hey,
it's crazy.
Shut this shit down.
It's one of the craziest things.
Yeah. Like, they weren't going to shut it off at all. Disney had to be like, hey, this is like kind of damaging us.
You're hurting our IP. Like, well, also that was around the time. Wasn't that around the time Last Jedi came out?
Yeah, Last Jedi came out.
Yeah, they were in a
It came out a month before Last Jedi.
Yeah, they were about to be in a PR shitstorm, which they didn't know obviously at the time. But dude, it's like, you take that and compound it with Last Jedi's bad PR. I mean, Star Wars not looking good, man.
That's why they delayed all those movies.
Yeah. No, that whole fall, I think, for them was weird. Like, it really hurt Star Wars.
Yeah. Because, like, I'm not even excited about Star Wars news. Like,
me either. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to see the movie, but I don't care. Like,
Because, like, me and Jet were like, oh, yeah, they're making a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, but how shitty is it going to be? Yeah. Like, these are our reaction to the...
Benioff and Weiss to do, the Game of Thrones guys who just ruined Game of Thrones to do Star Wars movies. Like, I got no faith in them either.
Yeah, so. And then, I mean, we got the Star Wars single-player game coming out, but it's like, we didn't even see gameplay of it.
Is it going to be good?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, it's like everything encompassing Star Wars is just like...
I just think the market's in an interesting spot, though.
It is.
And this bill, I don't believe this bill will pass, but...
I think it's shaking some boots, though. I wanted to get so close.
Be. If it's not, these guys are idiots.
Yeah, I wanted to get so close that it almost passes, right? And they're just like, holy fuck.
Like praying to whatever gods they pray to. Like, please don't.
They're like funneling money into
They're so desperate. See that, dude,
this one congressman or congresswoman.
How disgusting is that, though? The idea of them like, God, please don't take my ability to take everybody's money. Like, God, what a bunch of disgusting ass humans, man. Like, Jesus. It's like,
man, like, bro, I just see it.
Gross.
I see people. I think they are right now. That's how close I wanted to get. I just want them to get so scared that they have to funnel money into like one person's pocket. And they're like, "Man, come on, please!" And he's just like, "Maybe 2-3 million more in my pocket. We already gave you 500 million."
That's not enough, though.
It's not enough, though. You know, he's just like really pushing them. They spent so much money on this campaign. They're just like, you know what? Fuck it. We're not gonna go through this shit again.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Or they can just close down.
I mean, dude, if they're not scared by the existence of this bill and all the tides online of everything, I mean, everybody's turned against these companies with this stuff. Like even games journalists have largely turned against microtransactions. Like it's not. There's really nobody defending these things anymore. There's very few people doing that.
Yeah.
You know? And if they don't see that, they've got their head in the sand because it's obvious to anybody paying attention. I mean, you don't even need to pay attention. You need to just like look at things.
Yeah.
You know, go on Twitter for 5 minutes. I'm sure you can find a tweet about microtransactions. Like, it's not very difficult. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation. That was a good conversation, man. It was a good conversation. But
well, not only that, it's just one more point. Okay. But these live service games that do have microtransactions, things of that nature. Yeah. I think another side consequence of that, not only from the bill perspective, but unions will be taking a lot of money too if these developers do get unionized. Because last week we had an article about crunch time in live service games.
You know, that's funny. That's a funny. Because right now, right, you think a lot of developers right now probably support this bill. But if they were in a union getting royalties off these games, you think they wouldn't support the bill?
Yep.
You think their loyalty would change?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That's really funny, dude. That's hilarious. Yeah, they probably would. Man, money is...
This is an interesting time. I can't wait till the 9th gen.
Money's the root of all evil, isn't it?
It definitely is.
Isn't that the truth? All right, guys. That's going to be it for this week, I think. It's been a pretty meaty episode, but a good one.
Yep.
So if you like this episode, please like the episode wherever you're listening to it. Review the episode and then subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on. And then if you could, share it with your friends. You know, don't up your volume like Montrell did. You know, if you want to talk to us on Twitter, Montrell is at iTrap for the Hokage. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at ThunderNut01. The podcast is at The Players Take. If you'd like to send us a question, those can be sent to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. Next week, I think we're going to have... we've already started getting them. You got some E3 leaks.
Yep.
Death Stranding is going to have some sort of news on Wednesday.
Hopefully.
There may be a trailer for Last of Us 2 dropping with a potential release date, supposedly. I don't know if I believe that one, but we'll see if it happens.
Yeah.
I think there's also a Nintendo Direct. I don't think that's going to happen before the next podcast, though.
It's on the 5th.
It was June 5th or 6th, or something like that.
So, yeah, if we record next Tuesday, I think the 5th is on a Friday.
Yeah, no, that's like late next week.
Yeah.
But we'll have plenty of news to talk about, is the point. We are moving into E3 season, and the leaks are going to start flowing, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So I hope you guys are ready, but we hope you enjoyed this one, and we will see you guys on the next one, all right? Bye, guys.